It's a real pleasure to join you today at Women Veterans Rock. So as chair of the House Veteran Affairs Subcommittee on Health and the founder of the Women's Veterans Task Force, it's fantastic to see so many women veterans both building strong peer communities and working with legislators to bring about meaningful change. Like Deborah Sampson, one of the first women to serve in one of our nation's first veterans, you have answered the call to serve our nation in uniform. And not only have you shown remarkable courage and strength, but you have persisted. In the face of policies that banned women from combat jobs when women were already serving in combat, you persisted. Now all jobs in the U.S. Armed Forces are open to women. In the face of unacceptably high rates of military sexual trauma, you have shown up to work in service of our nation. And because of your persistence, we have changed our laws to improve resources for survivors and hold offenders accountable. A few weeks ago, after many years of hearing from servicewomen, a General Accountability Office report that I had requested confirmed that women serving in the military pay several times more than men for their uniforms, which is at odds of DoD's principles of equal pay for equal work. We are working to correct this issue. Last Congress, after many years of your advocacy, we finally passed the Deborah Sampson Act. And in January, this bill, the most comprehensive women veterans bill in more than a decade, became law. Women unquestionably have always been integral to the defense of our nation. In 1782, Deborah Sampson disguised herself as a man to fight as an infantry soldier in George Washington's Continental Army. She was wounded in combat and pulled a bullet out of her own leg so that she would not be discovered. Even though her disguise made her invisible during her service, she demanded to be recognized after the war. She went on an interstate speaking tour telling war stories at a time when women rarely spoke in public. And she spent 3 decades petitioning the state legislature and Congress for benefits for herself and her husband. Women have served on land, air, and sea in every conflict in our nation's history. The history of our battles won is women's history. It's your history. I like to recall how in 1836, former President John Quincy Adams, then a congressman, stood on the House floor and called Deborah Sampson's heroism, fidelity, and courage of the very highest and noblest order. In Congress, we aim to continue to honor that heroism, fidelity, and courage of women veterans across the country with the Deborah Sampson Act and the work of the Women's Veterans Task Force. The law creates a dedicated Office of Women's Health that reports directly to the VA Undersecretary of Health, provides counseling and retreat settings for women veterans, prioritizing retrofitting of existing VA facilities to better serve our women veterans, mandates that VA provide childcare at every VA medical center within the next 5 years, and mandates that VA implement a sexual harassment and assault prevention program, and it does so much more. Equity means meeting the unique and specific needs of women veterans, and with the Deborah Sampson Act and our continued work, we say, we see you, we hear you, and we thank you for all you have done in service to our nation. We have many accomplishments to celebrate, but there is still so much work to be done. Yesterday, I introduced the Veterans Infertility Treatment Act of 2021, which makes infertility treatment for all veterans and their partners part of health care available at VA and not just a service-connected benefit. I'm looking forward to continuing to work in Congress and with groups like Women Veterans Rock to achieve equity and access to health care, benefits, economic opportunity, and other resources that you have earned and deserve. Your Women Veterans 2030 Commission for Women Veterans and Military Families will be an important partner in that work. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to join you today. You all rock, and I look forward to any questions that you might have.
Well, thank you very much, Congresswoman Brownley. I mean, we're honored to have you with us today, and thank you for leaning forward and putting forth this important legislation, and also too, I know we look forward to partnering with you and continuing to institutionalize and normalize some of these hard-won achievements that we've worked so long to get. Who would think it would take us so long to make sure that all jobs are open to the military? We were discussing that a little bit earlier, and we know that's still needs some work in some of those areas. And I know the commission, the 2030 Commission, again, looks forward to working with you and partnering with you on some of these important initiatives. We aren't taking any specific live questions today in this forum, but I would like to just ask you one question. Where do you think that the most important legislative changes are going to happen in the next 10 years? Where do you see some of that going?
Well, as I said, we have a lot of work yet to do. Certainly, the full implementation of the Deborah Sampson bill is going to be extremely important. That's an important, foundational piece in terms of moving forward, because not only in the Deborah Sampson bill does it provide more equity for women veterans, but there is also a lot of requirements in there for data collection and other kinds of things that we are going to glean a lot from and learn from, and there will be more legislation forthcoming. I mentioned the IVF bill that I just introduced. I believe that IVF should be accessible to all women and men, men are included, but it should be part of the health care, not a service-connected benefit. Particularly for women, it is very, very difficult to discern a service connection. So if you have served in our military, you have earned and deserve the right to have a family after you separate from the military. I think Congresswoman Houlihan mentioned the equal access to contraception. That's a bill that I introduced and intend on passing, certainly in this 117th Congress. Also the issue around abortions or reproductive rights, the ability to have an abortion if that is a woman's choice in planning her family. Right now, even within the VA, there's abortion counseling is not even allowed. And so I think that's even, it's a doctor's Hippocratic oath to be able to advise their patients in terms of their health, and the fact that doesn't exist. So, 10 years from now, I want to see, complete equity, for women, and most importantly, to be able to walk through any VA medical center, any local clinic, VA clinic in any community, and be able to walk through that facility and know that there is a separate entrance for women veterans in a separate facility within the facility to provide health care for our women veterans. And they will walk into a facility that is welcoming, and it has zero tolerance for any sexual harassment or assault within that facility, and that provides all of the women healthcare needs within that facility. Quite frankly, a pregnant veteran most of the time receives all of her care outside of the VA. Mammograms, for example, Most of that is outside of the VA. We want to incorporate all of those things within the VA. So that's my vision 10 years from now, is to see that every VA medical center and every clinic throughout the United States of America, that it has a special area for our women veterans and a full complement of women health services.
Well, thank you. And I think that's important. I think that's a really important point for us to be thinking about, because you talked about collecting data. And as we think about the shift in the population of our veterans, we're going to have more women veterans. And now that more jobs are open to women, we're going to see a higher rate of injury and service-connected disability. And I think that's so important. We have to get the message out there. And VA has to become more agile to handle that increase in that women veterans population. So I think this is extremely important to be thinking about and looking forward about these important changes in our society, and making sure we're doing a better job of embracing our women and making sure they feel welcome at the VA. Because I know right now when you go to the VA, a lot of the men will congregate there and they feel very comfortable and they're having coffee with each other. I think that's an important thing to be thinking about. Why aren't women veterans feeling that same level of comfort? And we have to make sure that this is included with our Guard and Reserve and people that aren't on full-time active duty. And how do we make sure that we're working cohesively with our brethren in Department of Defense? So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I couldn't agree with you anymore in everything that you said. I can't imagine, and this is happening today, women who have served our country and have experienced the trauma of the battlefield, come home, leave the military, go to the VA, and become traumatized again when they're seeking help from the trauma that they experienced on the battlefield, or military sexual assault that they experienced while serving, and then coming to the VA for help and having that repeat itself. We absolutely need zero tolerance. And I am Secretary McDonough, who is the new secretary for the VA. I'm very, very encouraged by my conversations with him that he is fully on board in the direction that we in Congress are going towards to support our women veterans.
Well, again, thank you for all the work you're doing, and we look forward to partnering with you specifically through the activities within the 2030 Commission, so that we can have that even playing field and it just becomes part of society. And we won't necessarily have that need for all these new laws, because it'll just be part of our everyday thinking.
Yeah. Well, you're an important partner, and so I thank you, and I look forward to working with you in the coming months and years.